Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're diving into a puzzle that's literally all around us. I mean, it's in our cars, our kitchens, even the device you're watching this on. What is it that makes a metal, well, a metal? We kind of take it for granted, but the science behind it is just, it's incredible. So let's unlock what's really going on at the atomic level.
I want you to really think about this for a second. You can take a simple metal paperclip and bend it into all sorts of shapes, right? But what if you tried to do that with a crystal of salt? It would just snap in a heartbeat. They're both solids, they both look sturdy, so what is going on? This one simple question is going to be our guide today. All right, so to solve this mystery, like any good detective, we need to start by gathering the clues. What are the key properties, the key behaviors of metals that any theory we come up with absolutely has to explain? Okay, here's our evidence file. First off, metals are shiny, they're strong, they're fantastic at conducting heat and electricity. Think of a copper wire or a hot pan. And here's the big one for our paperclip mystery. They're malleable and ductile. That just means you can hammer them into thin sheets or stretch them out into long wires. And they just don't break. This right here gets to the absolute heart of the puzzle. When you put pressure on a metal, its internal layers just kind of slide past each other, no big deal. The whole thing holds together. But in something like salt, an ionic crystal, if you push those layers just a little bit, you suddenly line up positive charges with positive charges and negatives with negatives. They repel each other like crazy and crack, the whole thing shatters. So as you've probably guessed by now, the answer has to be in the bonding, that invisible glue that holds all the atoms together. To figure out why metals are so special, we've got to look at how their atoms are connected to each other.
And if we look at the usual suspects, well, it becomes pretty clear. You've got ionic bonds, where electrons are transferred, but that makes things brittle, like salt, so that's out. Then you have covalent bonds, where electrons are shared between just two atoms, but those materials are usually terrible conductors. That doesn't fit either. This leaves us with one unique culprit, the metallic bond. So yeah, metals are playing by a totally different set of rules. And this brings us to this beautifully simple but really powerful idea that explains everything. It's called the sea of electrons model. Here's how it works. Step 1, a whole bunch of metal atoms packed together in a really tight, orderly grid. Step 2, each one of those atoms basically says, "Here, take my outer electrons, I don't need them." Step 3, those electrons are now free. They don't belong to any single parent atom anymore. And step 4, they all come together to form this constantly moving fluid sea of electrons that flows through the entire structure. They're delocalized. And what you're left with is this amazing structure, a fixed grid of positively charged metal ions just sitting there, bathed in this mobile sea of negative electrons that holds the whole thing together. This picture, this is the key to pretty much every property of a metal. So there's our formal definition. A metallic bond isn't this rigid one-to-one connection. It's a collective force. It's the attraction between all the positive ions and the entire sea of electrons, all at once. It's like a giant atomic group hug. Okay, so we've got the model. How does it solve our original mystery? How does it explain why you can bend a paperclip without it breaking?
So let's start with what a metal looks like when it's just sitting there. You've got this beautiful, perfectly ordered structure, these neat layers of positive ions all packed together, kind of like a perfect stack of oranges at the grocery store.
Now watch what happens when you apply force, when you bend that paperclip. Those layers of ions can just slide right past each other. And here is the magic. That sea of electrons, it just flows right along with them. It acts like this super flexible, go-with-the-flow kind of glue. The bonds don't break, they just rearrange. There's no repulsion, no shattering. Mystery number 1, solved.
Awesome. Next up, conductivity. What is it about this model that makes metals such amazing conductors of electricity and heat? Well, the answer is built right into the model. Those delocalized electrons aren't just a sea. You can think of them as a massive, city-wide superhighway. They are totally free to zip around anywhere they want within the metal. Now, under normal circumstances, they're all moving around randomly. It's organized chaos, so there's no overall flow. But the moment you apply a voltage, you hook it up to a battery, you create a positive end and a negative end, and all those free electrons immediately go, ooh, something positive over there, and they all start flowing in the same direction. And that directed flow of charge, That's exactly what an electric current is. Now, the sea of electrons model is fantastic. It gets us 90% of the way there. But to get a little deeper, to really see why some materials conduct and others don't, we need to zoom in and bring in a concept from quantum mechanics called energy band theory. Don't worry, it's not as scary as it sounds. So here's the big idea. A single, lonely atom has very specific, distinct energy levels for its electrons, like rungs on a ladder. But when you bring billions upon billions of atoms together in a solid crystal, those individual energy levels start to overlap and blur together until they form these wide, continuous bands of available energy. And you can see that transition perfectly here. You start with just a couple of atoms, and you have a couple of distinct levels. You add a few more, you get a few more levels. But when you have the astronomical number of atoms in a real piece of metal, those levels get so packed together, they effectively become a smooth, continuous band. And this right here shows us the fundamental difference between a metal that conducts and an insulator that doesn't. Think of the valence band as the electron's home base. The conduction band is the energy highway where they can move freely. In a metal, the home base and the highway are connected, or they overlap. An electron needs almost no push to get onto the highway and start moving. But in an insulator, there's this huge energy gap, a massive roadblock between home and the highway. The electrons are just stuck. They can't make the jump. Okay, so this isn't just some abstract theory for a textbook. Understanding metallic bonding is literally how we engineer the world around us, from tiny circuits to massive skyscrapers. Let's talk about alloys. An alloy is just a mixture of different metals. So what happens when you introduce atoms of a different size into that perfect, neat lattice we saw earlier? You disrupt it, you make it messy. And that messiness makes it way harder for those layers to slide past one another. The result? The material becomes much, much stronger. This is exactly why airplanes are built from aluminum alloys, not pure, soft aluminum. And that really brings it all home, doesn't it? This one concept, metallic bonding, explains the everyday things like why your spoon gets hot in your coffee. It lets us design incredible new materials, like super strong, lightweight alloys. It's the foundation of all electronics. It's this beautiful bridge connecting the bizarre rules of the quantum world to the solid, tangible stuff we see and touch every single day. So that leaves us with this final, mind-bending thought. We figured out how to mix and match atoms to make materials stronger and more useful. But as our ability to control and place atoms gets even more precise, what's next? What brand new properties, things we can't even imagine yet, are we going to create by designing chemical bonds from the ground up? It's an exciting future. Thanks for digging into this with me.